In a move that was highly suspicious, the Taiwanese government has made a massive increase in its military defense spending by the end of 2024, reaching a record 647 billion new Taiwanese dollars, which is equivalent to approximately 20,240 million US dollars. Later on, we will also see in detail the key areas of its navy that it is strengthening. This budget, which surprises everyone because it represents nearly 2.45% of the nation's GDP, is not only a response to the growing threats in the region, but also a clear message to the world that Taiwan is prepared to defend itself against any eventuality. The allocation of this budget was not accidental. Of the 647 billion, around 479 billion Taiwanese dollars were allocated to cover the operating expenses of the Ministry of National Defense, while 940 billion Taiwanese dollars were allocated to the acquisition of new fighter planes and the purchase of advanced weapons that will improve the country's maritime air combat capabilities. Additionally, 80,600 million were allocated to a special non-profit fund, demonstrating the government's commitment to national defense and security. This astronomical increase in defense spending, up 7.7% from the previous year, even surpassed the projected GDP growth of 3.26% in 2024. This type of investment in defense is a strategic move that, although it has generated debate inside and outside the country, Taipei considers necessary given the context of increasing aggression and militarization in the region. It is important to note that while the Taiwanese government has been clear that it is not seeking to initiate an arms race, it has made clear that it will spare no resources to ensure that its armed forces are well equipped and prepared. The goal of achieving defense spending equivalent to 3% of GDP will depend, according to military leaders, on the government's ability to acquire the key weapons requested. Taiwan's commitment to its defense is not limited to investment in armaments. The Prime Minister has officially approved a submarine development project worth an estimated NT dollar 284 billion for the construction of 7 advanced vessels to be completed by 2038. This project is part of a broader policy that seeks to strengthen the nation's defense capabilities through the construction of its own military aircraft and ships in order to maintain peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region, in addition to building a resilient nation and defending its sovereignty. This defensive approach is part of an overall government budget that calls for total spending of NT dollar 132 trillion, an increase of NT dollar 6 billion compared to the previous year. It is interesting to note that in addition to defense spending, the budget also allocated 26.5% to social welfare, 19.3% to education, scientific development and culture, and 17.3% to economic development. Despite these large outlays, the government has been prudent in its debt management, keeping it within legal limits, reflecting a balanced strategy in the country's financial management.
Modernization of the naval fleet and preparation for critical scenarios.
Taiwan is not only beefing up its military budget, it is also making significant progress in modernizing its naval fleet. A clear example is the recent installation of 13 Phalanx Block 1B short-range weapon systems on its warships. These systems, acquired for a total of 10,160 million new Taiwanese dollars, approximately 314,670,000 US dollars, represent a qualitative leap in the Navy's defensive capacity. These radar-guided cannons have the capacity to fire 4,500 rounds per minute, hitting targets at a distance of up to 1.5 kilometers. These systems not only increase the warship's ability to respond to threats such as missiles, aircraft, and small boats, but also significantly improve the Taiwanese fleet's point defense capability. Phalanx systems have been installed on several key fleet vessels, including Keelung-class destroyers, Tuojiang-class frigates, and Kangding-class frigates, and are also planned to be integrated into next-generation light frigates currently under construction. In addition to these developments, the Taiwanese Navy is also exploring the possibility of replacing the Phalanx system with the Sea Oryx missile system, developed by the Chungsan Institute of Science and Technology. These new systems are being tested in live-fire exercises and are expected to offer greater flexibility and effectiveness in defending against air and maritime threats. Strengthening naval defense is part of a broader strategy that also includes the acquisition of surveillance and reconnaissance drones. The Ministry of National Defense also announced a plan to invest 6.89 billion new Taiwanese dollars, equivalent to 215.73 million US dollars, in the purchase of 6 types of drones that will enhance the country's asymmetric combat capabilities. These drones will not only be used for surveillance and reconnaissance, but will also be integrated into naval and land operations, allowing Taiwan to have a greater capacity to respond to any eventuality. The procurement will be completed in phases, with the surveillance and reconnaissance drones and ship-mounted drones expected by the end of 2025, while the tactical micro-drones will be procured by the end of September 2027. This strategy shows a long-term focus on modernizing and preparing Taiwan's armed forces, ensuring that the country is ready to face any threats in the future.
Tension with China and its perspectives.
As Taiwan strengthens its defensive capabilities, the region remains a flashpoint for tensions. Between 2023 and 2024, Beijing significantly stepped up its military exercises, including large-scale simulations of amphibious invasions and blockades. These actions are no longer mere displays of force. Experts in the region believe that they could be a carefully orchestrated rehearsal for something much bigger on China's part. While this situation presents itself as an additional factor of instability, Taiwan remains firm in its position that only its people can decide its future, and that the Taiwan Strait is an international waterway. Such naval operations in the region not only underline the strategic importance of the Taiwan Strait, but also reflect the growing interest of the international community in maintaining peace and stability in the region. The participation of Western nations, such as Germany in these operations, indicates a commitment to a rules-based order and the peaceful resolution of territorial disputes. However, these moves also highlight Taiwan's delicate position in global politics. As the country continues to invest in its defense, it must also maintain a balance between strengthening its military capabilities and pursuing diplomacy that prevents an escalation into conflict. Modernizing its military, along with support from the international community, is essential to securing and maintaining peace in the region. In this context of growing tension, there are things that seem suspicious. That unprecedented increase in the defense budget, the modernization of its naval fleet, the acquisition of advanced technology. Does Taiwan know something that the rest of us don't, and is it preparing for difficult times? I would greatly appreciate it if well-informed people would leave their opinion in the comments, so we can debate the issue. Respectfully, as always.
U.S. sales of more arms to Taiwan.
In October 2024, the State Department approved another arms sales package to Taiwan valued at $2 billion. This package includes advanced surface-to-air missile systems, such as the National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile System, NASAMS, and radar systems. The inclusion of NASAMS is particularly notable, as this system has proven effective in recent conflicts, such as in Ukraine, significantly enhancing Taiwan's air defense capabilities.
China's reactions.
China's response to these sales has been forceful. The Chinese government has expressed its firm opposition, arguing that these actions violate its sovereignty and threaten regional stability. In December 2024, China imposed sanctions on 7 U.S. military companies and their senior executives involved in arms sales to Taiwan, demonstrating its willingness to take punitive measures in response to what it considers provocations. In parallel, China has stepped up its military presence around Taiwan. In late October 2024, around 20 Chinese aircraft and drones were reportedly deployed in the vicinity of the island, in an apparent show of force following the approval of arms sales by the United States.
U.S. continues military assistance to Taiwan.
In addition to arms sales, the United States has increased its direct military assistance to Taiwan. In December 2024, President Joe Biden approved a military assistance package worth $571 million, intended to support the defense and training of the Taiwanese military. This decision highlights the continued interest of the United States in Taiwan's security amid rising tensions with China. Add to this escalating arms sales and continued U.S. military assistance to Taiwan, along with China's reactions, and you have the ever-escalating tensions in the indo-pacific region, which could lead to a win-win situation. The risk of conflict in this region only grows with time, and it seems that no one is talking about it. But China, in addition to sanctions on American military companies, continues to carry out increasingly aggressive military deployments around Taiwan. In the video that we show you on screen, we detail this more, because according to a report from the United States Department of Defense, the People's Liberation Army of China is preparing for a possible unification of Taiwan with the People's Republic of China by force. And the constant military exercises near the island could be a strategy by China to normalize the situation before the final blow. I invite you to subscribe to the channel, go watch that video and leave us that. Like that helps us a lot to grow, to be able to continue investigating for you, and to continue bringing you this content.